Hello again and welcome to another Writerly Witterings with me, Michael Jecks, the author of the Templar series and quite a few other books as well now. Today I thought I'd attack a question that was sent to me by a friend, Austin Hackney, and he said, an idea for a future video, he said, you frequently use multiple viewpoints even within the same chapter. That's something my editor has always frowned on and steered me away from. Strong single viewpoint focus is what I'm always told, but I only ever do multiple viewpoints. That's me, Any insight into your approach would be great. How do you plan exactly when and where you'll switch viewpoints, and if so, how do you decide? Is it intuitive or what? Well, Austin, interesting question. I tend to work on the basis, when I'm actually writing a book, that each separate scene is going to be about 1,000 words. I find it's much easier for me to plan my book, it's easier to write the book if I go in 1,000 word bursts, because I can write 1,000 words in an hour. And the nice thing is that at the end of an hour, 50, 55 minutes, whatever it may be, I can go away, have a cup of tea, and that takes me away from the desk and it refreshes my mind, ready for the next scene I'm going to write. Now, I was told by one of my very first editors, Marion Donaldson, who was an excellent commissioning editor at Headline. She must have been excellent because she was my first editor, and she kept me at Headline, so she's a very good lady. But her view was it's much better to have a number of different viewpoints. You want to tell the story from the point of view of a number of different protagonists, because otherwise it gets a bit tedious. Now, it's not necessarily tedious. Raymond Chandler, for example, one of my favourite writers of the hard-boiled type, and his books told from the first person, so it's always the protagonist's point of view. I think his books are superb, I love them. But that doesn't suit me. I've never written in the first person. I've never particularly liked the first person. There's two types of writing I personally cannot do, I don't think. One is first person, one is present tense. I'm not happy with either of them. I always use the present tense for writing synopses, no idea why, but I can't use present tense when I'm actually writing a book, which is odd. I've tried it with short stories and things, but I've never done it with a full-sized book. So that's a problem in its own right. But switching viewpoints, I find is really, I think it is intuitive. I think that when you're writing a book, you have a particular scene and you can see that that scene is going to be from one person's point of view. The next scene you're going to elaborate on that by going to a different point of view, trying to bring more into it. It's not something I necessarily plan. I plan the story. So for example, most of my books are 120,000 words. I will plan the book on the basis of 120,000 words. That means I've got roughly 120 different scenes I'm going to be looking at. It never works out that way. It always ends up as 150 scenes and it always ends up considerably over, and then I've got to rely on my editor to tell me which bits actually shouldn't be there and need to be stripped out. But I'll normally plan on, okay, the ending of the book needs to have a bit of a build-up, so I will expect to use 5,000 to 10,000 words building up to the last big scene, and then another 2,000 to 3,000 words closing things off. I'll expect the beginning has to be quite a good introduction piece, so I'll assume again usually about 10,000 words for the beginning, where I'm introducing all the different characters. But then as I go through the book it gets much more flexible and fluid, so I'll have a particular scene that will be, for example, a body is found on the moor. I'll tell the scene from the point of view of the first finder, the person who has discovered that body there, but then I'll probably have a secondary person being pulled in, so it could be a local shepherd, it could be a steward who happens to be passing by on the road. I'll have them become involved, and then I'll tell the story a little bit more from their point of view. That way you're incorporating a little bit of mystery still with who could be guilty, so you're looking at it not entirely from the first finder's point of view. That means I can then later on switch things so that he could have a more direct role. He could be one of the suspects in the story. I pull in the steward, the shepherd, whoever it may be. That person also could then become one of the leading protagonists. You don't know because I don't know at that stage. It's just one of those things, but the story starts to develop. Switching viewpoints, I think, can be very difficult and clunky, but so long as you've got some sort of breakpoint. So I'll have some dialogue, tell something from one guy's point of view, and then I'll have a switch point. Now that switch point could be something interesting that's happened to somebody there. So it could be that he notices that the first finder has got a daub of blood on his leg. Wonders, how did that happen? So then I'm switching across to the second guy's point of view. Perhaps the shepherd's there, the first finder notices that the top of his staff that he uses has got some blood on it or has got damaged in some way, and that makes him think. So you're switching it back to him again. There's any number of little fiddles that you can use to try to pull the reader's attention through to one person's point of view and then switch it back to the other. But I think that, to be absolutely honest, the best way of doing it is just to write the scene and then see how it ends up. If you write the scene and you deliberately have a change, figure out how you can make that change a little bit less jarring, make it a little bit smoother. P.G. Wodehouse always had a trick which I always thought was lovely, which was that he would always, with great determination, rattle through his story. He didn't want to be slowed down. So when you look at his manuscripts, you can see that he has a section of dialogue in the garden, and then he says, get them to the swimming pool, and then he'll have a section of dialogue by the swimming pool. He'll fill in that gap later on somehow, but that's one of the skills and the joys of writing, is trying to figure out how to do that sort of thing. So that's about it for me. Thanks very much. If you've got any comments, questions, please give me questions. It's nice to have. We've just been sitting here for half an hour almost trying to figure out what we could go through for this. So noticing Austin's comments, that was really useful. But if you've got any questions, down there, bottom of the thing, you've got the comments section. Put any questions or anything else in there that you want. Do please share this, tell other people about it if you think it'll interest them. If you know anybody who's a Morris dancer, say hello to the rabbit. And apart from that, thanks very much indeed for watching. I hope it's been interesting and hopefully a little bit useful, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Cheers!